Hi, everyone. Just a little bit of background on me. I'm Riley Ennis. I am currently on the pathway of getting my MBA in sport management. I'm super grateful to have this opportunity to speak about my interview with my business leader presentation that we had to do. I work for the MBA in sport management program as a program assistant, as well as working with FAU athletics in the academics department for mentoring student athletes. So I just wanted to start by introducing my leader is my boss, Dan Cornley, for the FAU MBA in Sport Management program. A little bit of background on him is his background and love for the sport industry came from football. He played football in college. It was kind of his drive to want to get into the industry. And then from there, that kind of took off of his different roles within the world of athletics. So he started out as a coach, coordinator, player personnel for his college team, and then later on realized he wanted to get more into the business side. So he then became a recruiter, a little bit more involved of a different side of athletics, which he was super excited about, and then slowly turned into more of a sponsorship role with what is now IMG Academy and working with corporate sponsors in terms of relations of finances and deals and contracts with USA Volleyball and a fellow like banking institute nearby. That was kind of what he was in charge of. And then his pathway took him later down here to Florida Atlantic when he got an opportunity to work in the career development side of the College of Business, which is where he was developing roles for all MBA students to have careers and internships lined up during their MBA program and post MBA program. So he also works especially close with the sport program due to his interest and his background. So things fell into place into one another, and he eventually became the director of the program, which is where he is now. He's been here for, I believe, about a year and a half, almost 2 years as the full-time role director. And he couldn't love it more than what he does right now. He enjoys what he gets to do for the students. It gets to bring a little bit of everything that he has done in the past, being able to be in the sport industry, but as well as creating jobs and opportunities for students. And his true love for education gets to all bring inside one. He also is currently on the path to receiving his PhD as well at Florida Atlantic University. So as we kind of moved on and we talked about him being my boss and working under him and working so closely to him, it was great to have this conversation because as much as you think you know something about someone, until you sit down and have a formal conversation about your dreams, your challenges, and what you've had to do and hadn't do, you get to see a different side of someone. And I think that's super important in terms of leaders and followers and any organization. No matter what it is, you should be able to sit down with your leader and ask them questions that truly maybe just interest you or truly you feel believe could impact your decisions or what you think could be best for the program. So it was really interesting to sit down with him and hear new things that, we've worked together for a year now, hear new things I've never heard him speak about before. For example, with his PhD program, he originally was not accepted to his program. So, and this was something that I had not known. So knowing this kind of allowed me to realize, wow, like, people that I look up to, admire, and work under, they don't always get what we would think so in terms of getting that acceptance into a PhD program. So realizing that just because people above you in the world of your organization might seem to have it better than you, they still have to go through obstacles and difficulties and challenges. And I just think that's super valuable in today's day and age, that we understand that everybody has their own battles. Even people who are supposed to lead the way or are supposed to be the experts in their field, everybody has to overcome challenges. Some obviously smaller than others, some work out and some don't. So I think that's truly valuable that I learned that in my interview with Dan, was just truly understanding that I'm going to eventually have those challenges, right? Something's going to happen at work, something's going to happen in my day-to-day where I'm to sit back and reflect on what happened and figure out how I could do that better. So going back to Dan's accomplishments that he is proud of is truly just who he's been as a person. So he did, as I spoke previously, he was working on a football staff and he was the only member retained on the staff after a major firing within the program. So, and this just, I mean, for those of you that don't know, this is kind of a really big deal in the world of athletics, in the sense of that means that one person truly, they did something in their time while they were there to be impactful enough to the future staff was like, this is who we need to keep, or people were like, you need to keep him on your staff for the sense of his ethics, his morals, his work ethic, and the way he drives to be a better person every day. So that was something that he mentioned. Another thing that I was not aware of. So I think that's truly important, again, to just understand people's background when you're working for them or working under them. And again, going back to my paper, I spoke about, again, even though you have all these accomplishments, there are always going to be challenges. And again, wasn't always the first pick. And he was okay with that. He was okay with proving to the people around him that he was the right choice. Maybe it didn't seem like it at first, or he didn't give off this impression, or someone had X, Y, and Z more than he did, but he was going to prove himself to be given an opportunity to be the best that he could, which is something that I admire as a post student athlete and as a current individual in a new industry. So I value that, and I think that's super important. And another thing I also agreed with him on being in an organization is sharing knowledge is it's so hard to do sometimes, because certain things that you want to say need to be said in the right setting, right? So if something happens in a group setting and you need to be reminded that, okay, I need to talk to X person about their emotions, their actions, their thoughts, right? But you have to understand that sometimes sharing that knowledge and having those hard conversations might not be in the best setting right there in the moment. You have to understand how to read a room and understand how to read the people around you. So that's also important. And I guess it could be a little bit of a mix of, I touched on sharing knowledge, but also having those like difficult conversations. But going back to sharing knowledge, it's important to have those one-on-one meetings, because it gives you time to be honest and reflect and just really be in tune with what you're feeling with the person in front of you. This is what I have always supported in my life growing up, like what I should be told on what can make me a better person, or at the time, a better worker, a better athlete, a better student, is one-on-one, because that gives me time to be able to be honest with myself in front of you and really truly do some self-reflection on how I can be better at what I'm currently trying to pursue. Something else that's very important when it comes to being a leader is not being too high, not being too low, right? You have to keep the standard every day. Like if your standard is here, you have to meet that every day, but you have to be true to your word as well, right? You can't just say, well, this is it on Monday, Tuesdays, and then Wednesdays, and Fridays, it's okay. Like you have to be consistent when you are a leader, because that's how you're going to create consistency and structure throughout whatever program it is that you are in charge of. That's going to create that drive where people want to stick around because they know that it's going to be consistent. There's going to be a standard. They're going to be able to rely on consistency, which is super important in any organization that you are a part of. Also hitting on that, some personal skills that are super important when it comes to being a leader is just being passionate, right? You have to love what you do. You have to enjoy what you do. You need to be proud of what you do. So just really being passionate and pushing that. And if you're not passionate, like maybe it's time he spoke on that you find something else that you love, right? Because if you're not passionate, you can't give it your all. And being level-headed and fair. Obviously, of course, everyone has different opinions, different thoughts, and whatever it may be, but truly being level-headed with every single conversation, every single action, every single thing that you do is going to create a better atmosphere for the people around you, and overall going to create you to be a better leader. And then back to the difficult conversation parts that I kind of hit on earlier as I twine that in with my 1v1 conversations. This is also the best way to have difficult talks, right? One-on-one, sometimes group settings, they're unfair to handle it. It's not for the other people. It's not for the person that you are currently speaking to. And being as clear as possible, I feel, is the best way, which I also agree with, is the best way to speak to somebody, right? One-on-one, like I said, same thing with sharing knowledge. It gives you time to be brutally honest with yourself and with the other person. Reading the room, reading the timing of the conversation. What else is going on in this individual's life that this might not be the appropriate time to speak about this? Let's wait till after the weekend. Let's wait until after X, Y, and Z happens. Let's wait until after the final report is done. So it's also super important to just really, really understand and have good social cues of what is going on when you have to approach a difficult conversation. And lastly, some advice that he was willing to give to some MBA students, including myself. I'm obviously still in the program, so just be taking advantage of every opportunity in front of him. And this is probably the big overall picture that I learned from having my interview with Dan, was just really if something's in front of you, go after it. Don't sit back, don't think about it, don't wait, don't think what if, like just go for it. Like if you really want something, you need to go for it. And that's just going to boost you and boost you and boost you until you are the confident leader that you can be to lead people and programs and organizations and the ones around you. So really just be a go-getter and really, again, just take advantage of what's in front of you, especially here in the MBA and sport management program where we're located in South Florida. There are so many opportunities that he touched on to be involved in and volunteer and just apply, like just try it. You never know, even though maybe you can't stand finance or accounting, but there is a summer internship for the Florida Panthers in their salary cap department, right? Try it, go for it. Like there's just so many different ways to put yourself out there, and you'll never know what you're going to love. And I think that's what he realized. Like he never knew that he would be able to find a way to love education and athletics and career development and have it all under one umbrella at the Sport MBA program and continue to network. That was something he really hit on, was just keeping the people around you, just keeping them close and keeping the people around you like aware of who you are and what you're doing. And you never know when that's going to benefit you come the future. Maybe again, you're going to know someone who knows someone that moved down to South Florida that now just got hired by the Miami Dolphins. It's really important to grow your network, even just through platforms, right? Like our business network that we have here at FAU, that's so important to be a part of, or LinkedIn, updating your LinkedIn, having a teamwork online profile. There's so many different ways to just really put yourself out there and just to be a go-getter. And I just think that's super important and valuable. And overall, I'm really grateful to work for someone like Dan who pushes me every day as a student and as a coworker and someone who is striving to be better every single day. I appreciate that for him. And I'm glad that this is the role I'm in as my first job outside of college and outside being a student athlete. And I'm grateful that I get to work under someone who is such a great leader and has such a great mindset and just really pushes the people around him to be better. So thank you everyone for listening. And please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.